I want to make it exceptionally clear that I actually did, in fact, hit the button to unmute the mic this time. I did. I hit the button to unmute the mic. And then I started talking, not looking at the fact that the microphone was not, in fact, receiving. And I did not have my green bloops blooping their way up. But behold, now I do. Welcome. Blessings. The Lord be with you. This is the ADHD Preacher's Workshop. I am the ADHD Preacher. If you're unfamiliar with what we're about to do, for those who are preparing Sunday sermons for this coming Sunday, it is very helpful to read and review the lectionary texts. Those of you who use the Revised Common Lectionary, we're going to do exactly that. We're going to read the lectionary texts, which are a selection of verses from the Bible. We're going to interpret those same verses, and then we're going to maybe interpret them more with Greek, depending on how much time we have. That's the plan. I hope that you enjoy it. If you have questions, feel free to hit me up in chat. I got some real spicy ones last week. I think my favorite, and it's going to be a long-term favorite of mine, is are you actually a preacher, or do you just dress up as one on Twitch? I am, in fact, an ordained Presbyterian pastor. So the real deal, but it was a good question, and I did appreciate it. We shall start, as we always start, with a word of prayer. God of love, we ask your blessings on this gathering, on this time of reflection upon your word. We ask that you bless us with wisdom and insight, that you bless us with patience and courage, that you bless us with the presence of your Holy Spirit. Today, tomorrow, and always, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be a sacrifice acceptable and pleasing to you. Amen. Boom. I did it. My little baby has been working on, toddler stuff. He's almost closing in on 2 years old. And one of the best things has been as successes rack up in various aspects of life. Baby's sitting there going, I did it. It's not the cutest thing he does, but it's top 5. Sunday, August 24th, 2025, the 11th Sunday after Pentecost. I'm not sure if I actually saw it somewhere or if I was guessing, but I was right last week that it was the 10th Sunday after Pentecost. So that'll be a lot of fun. For the record, I am going to be preaching in Meat Space on August 31st, and I'll be sure to share the link to that live stream far and wide. But it's one of those great ones where, I do this on Monday, and then, sometimes I'm like, there might be an ADHD sermon out of this. Probably not, but maybe. And then this time, yes, there will be a real sermon. Not a real sermon, but a long format sermon, as opposed to my more regular ADHD content. Let's find out what the Revised Common Lectionary has for us today. Art's kind of, art's sort of whatever. Good Money says this is Jesus. This person looks like they just ran a marathon. Probably a lady. Based on nothing whatsoever. Here, let's see if we can... really want to download it. I want to open it. Not that. How about this? Open link in new tab. See if I can get it to open up. But no, it's not going to go. That's fine. Yeah. More of an effort than we sometimes see with the art to sort of respond to at least what we think the time period looked like. It has got some nice Romanesque looking columns. And we're definitely we're down a flight of stairs, quite bright. And who's our artist on this one? It's in the Brooklyn Museum. Jesus Christ, woman healed on the Sabbath. James Tissot, 1836 to 1902. This is the one visual thing we do every week, so I hope you enjoyed that. Proper 16, August 24th. Oh, great, more Jeremiah. Or Isaiah. And we're doing, okay, this is one of those seasons where we just do Hebrews. We just do Hebrews for a while and everybody's fine. It's just fine. From the scroll of the prophet Jeremiah, verses Jeremiah chapter 1, verses 4 through 10. Now, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet to the nations. And I said, Lord God, truly I do not know how to speak, for I am only a boy. But the Lord said to me, Do not say I am only a boy, for you shall go to all to whom I send you, and you shall speak whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you to deliver you, says the Lord. Then the Lord put out his hand and touched my mouth, and the Lord said to me, Now I have put my words in your mouth. See, today I appoint you over nations and over kingdoms, to pluck up and to pull down, to destroy and to overthrow, to build and to plant. Jeremiah hitting some of the greatest hits. Psalm 71, verses 1 through 6. In you, O Lord, I take refuge. Let me never be put to shame. In your righteousness deliver me and rescue me. Incline your ear to me and save me. Be to me a rock of refuge, a strong fortress to save me, for you are my rock and my fortress. Rescue me, O God, from the hand of the wicked, from the grasp of the unjust and cruel. For you, O Lord, are my hope, my trust. O Lord, from my youth, from my birth I have leaned upon you, my protector since my mother's womb. My praise is continually of you. Okay. Not bad. So that's a pair. That's those two we could do together. In theory, you're going to pick these two and then these two and then do the last two. So that's one pair that we could do is Jeremiah and Psalm 71. The other option starts with Isaiah chapter 55, verses 9b through 14. If you remove the yoke from among you, the pointing of the finger, the speaking of evil, if you offer your food to the hungry and satisfy the needs of the afflicted, then your light shall rise in the darkness and your gloom be like the noonday. The Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your needs in parched places and make your bones strong. And you shall be like a watered garden, like a spring of water whose waters never fail. Your ancient ruins shall be rebuilt. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations. You shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to live in. If you refrain from trampling the Sabbath, from pursuing your own interests on my holy day, if you call the Sabbath a delight and the holy day of the Lord honorable, if you honor it, not going your own ways, serving your own interests, or pursuing your own affairs, then you shall take delight in the Lord, and I will make you ride upon the heights of the earth. I will feed you with the heritage of your ancestor Jacob, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken. Psalm 103, verses 1 to 8. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and do not forget all his benefits, who forgives all your iniquity, who heals all your diseases, who redeems your life from the pit, who crowns you with steadfast love and mercy, who satisfies you with good as long as you live, so that your youth is renewed like the eagles. The Lord works vindication and justice for all who are oppressed. He made known his ways to Moses, his acts to the people of Israel. The Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love. All right. Here we go. Hebrews chapter 12, verses 18 to 29. You have not come to something that can be touched, a blazing fire and darkness and gloom and a tempest and the sound of a trumpet and a voice whose words made the hearers beg that not another word be spoken to them, for they could not endure the order that was given. If even an animal touches the mountain, it shall be stoned to death. Indeed, so terrifying was the sight that Moses said, I tremble with fear. But you have come to Mount Zion and to the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to innumerable angels in festal gathering, and to the assembly of the firstborn who are enrolled in heaven, and to God the judge of all, and to the spirits of the righteous made perfect, and to Jesus, the mediator of a new covenant, and to the sprinkled blood that speaks a better word than the blood of Abel. See that you do not refuse the one who is speaking, for if they did not escape when they refused the one who warned them on earth, how much less will we escape if we reject the one who warns from heaven? At that time his voice shook the earth, but now he has promised, Yet once more I will shake not only the earth but also the heaven. This phrase, yet once more, indicates the removal of what is shaken, that is, created things, so that what cannot be shaken may remain. Therefore, since we are receiving a kingdom that cannot be shaken, let us show gratitude, by which we may offer to God an acceptable worship with reverence and awe, For indeed, our God is a consuming fire. And from Luke's Gospel, chapter 13, verses 10 to 17, listen for God's word to you. Now, he was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath, and just then there appeared a woman with a spirit that had crippled her for 18 years. She was bent over and was quite unable to stand up straight. When Jesus saw her, he called her over and said, "Woman, you are set free from your ailment." When he laid his hands on her, immediately she stood up straight and began praising God. But the leader of the synagogue, indignant because Jesus had cured on the Sabbath, kept saying to the crowd, "There are 6 days on which work ought to be done. Come on those days and be cured, and not on the Sabbath day." But the Lord answered him and said, "You hypocrites! Does not each of you on the Sabbath untie his ox or his donkey from the manger and lead it away to give it water? And ought not this woman, a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan bound for 18 long years, be set free from this bondage on the Sabbath day?" When he said this, all his opponents were put to shame, and the entire crowd was rejoicing at all the wonderful things being done by him. The word of the Lord. There was some content there. All right. Ah, no, don't delete that. Delete the other thing. My sister once described the need to manually correct errors on a keyboard as a sort of self-imposed ADHD tax, and that has been living rent-free in my brain ever since. So first of all, I'm absolutely going to read the whole Isaiah passage, or at least up to that point, because the context there, that 9b, really dodges the import of the prophet's point. We can leave the Psalms as is. What are the problems with Hebrews? One of the problems with Paul is that you can't really stop in the middle and try and pick it up again. So that Hebrews passage, Paul was working a thought, and we sort of ducked in the middle, and I'm not entirely sure how effective that's going to be. And then, I've said it before, I will say it again. I'm continually shocked. I went to seminary. I absolutely have read the whole Bible. Not cover to cover in one sitting, but definitely have read all of it at one point or another. And I've definitely read the Gospels a couple times. All of the Gospels a couple times. How do I not remember this particular story? And I know that it's because my life has changed since the last time I encountered it. But that Luke passage, we're gonna have a conversation about that. That's what I have to say about that. All right. Oh, I was being more clever about this previously. Yeah. Yeah. Fine. I hate your buttons. All right, and I got that, and we're in the Common English. I got another question about that, which is always thrilling. Why are you using that translation? Because it's awesome. Okay. Had that moment of I am in fact showing my screen, right? Yes. Good. Jeremiah 1:4-10. So, as I was reading this one, I had a moment of the scriptures as we know them, in theory, were written over time. So the Pentateuch, the first 5 books, were written first, and sort of edited later, and there's an order to these things. I have to sit here and think for a moment, because here from the scroll of the prophet Jeremiah, we have an absolutely rocking callback to Psalm 139. Lord, you have searched me and you know me. And we have a callback to the Pentateuch to Moses' like, I am a man of a thick tongue, like I don't speak well, and the Lord being like, it's cool. And then we also have a callback to Isaiah, in which, in the call narrative for Isaiah in Isaiah chapter 6, the angel grabs a hot coal from a brazier and puts it to the prophet's lips. I'm putting my words in your mouth. And then we have an and this is where it falls apart, depending on how you sort of interpret tradition. I'm not sure. Strange. I don't know where I can find the huz. It would make more sense to me if that was a misspelling. Do you want the Huns? We don't have all that many Huns left. But now we have a callback to Ecclesiastes, which in theory was written by Solomon, and that makes a certain amount of sense. But let's be real. Ecclesiastes, Solomon was sort of, if Solomon wrote if Solomon was indeed Kohelet, the teacher, he was very predictive about Greek literature in some ways that are slightly surprising. I have just said something very snarky in chat, and I hope that everyone enjoys it. So before I created you in the womb, I know you. Before you were born, I set you apart. And Psalm 139 is another of the texts that, as I'm constructing in my head how do we deal with the Bible and the social model of disability, the idea of God's intimate foreknowledge of us, including we must believe our disabilities, is very raw. For Jeremiah, before I created you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I made you a prophet to the nations. And this bro has severe imposter syndrome. God says, I knew you from of old, and I know that you are sent to be a prophet for the nations. And bro's like, I'm just a kid. I don't know how to talk. It's not a good excuse, man. God knew you from of old, from before you were born in your mother's womb. He knew you. He knows how you talk, right? The Lord responded, don't say I'm only a child. Where I send you, you must go. What I tell you, you must say. Don't be afraid of them, because I'm with you to rescue you. Don't say that I'm a child. I feel like that should be an excuse. I don't know how old Jeremiah is at this point, in theory, but like, Jeremiah's like 4 or 8 or 6. Like, no, Lord, just give him a minute. You got to grow up. Got to be a kid first. Children, go where I send thee. What I tell you, you must say. Don't be afraid of them. Not sure who them is. Slightly alarming. And the Lord stretched out his hand, touched my mouth, and said to me, I'm putting my words in your mouth. This very day I appoint you over nations and empires. And then the Ecclesiastes, there's a time and a season to everything, to dig up and to pull down, to destroy and demolish, to build and to plant, to up and to down. Okay, so there's the Jeremiah. Psalm 71. I've taken refuge in you, Lord. Don't let me ever be put to shame. Deliver me and rescue me by your righteousness. Bend your ear toward me and save me. Be my rock of refuge where I can always escape. You commanded that my life be saved because you are my rock and my fortress. My God, rescue me from the power of the wicked. Rescue me from the grip of the wrongdoer and the oppressor because you are my hope, Lord. You, Lord, are the one I've trusted since childhood. I've depended on you from birth. You cut the cord when I came from my mother's womb. My praise is always about you. Me. And sometimes the Psalms are like that. Sometimes you got to prepare yourself for that. But this was definitely a la, like, oh, I'm a Lord, you're so cool, but please take care of me. Which, again, there's a moment for it. What now? My protector since my mother's womb. Okay. Let's take a little walk to the King James, because those are two different glosses. That was Psalm 71:6. Okay, my friends, this is not the problem with Bible translations, but when I say that I think it's best for us to look at a couple translations, this is what I mean. The King James, the traditional version, has, "Thou art he that took me out of my mother's bowels." The Common English Bible has, "You cut the cord when I came from my mother's womb." And the NRSV has, "My protector since my mother's womb." My friends, these are all very different. These are quite distinct from each other. And I would love to get a commentary going to find out why. In short, though, God has been very intimately present with me from, again, my mother's womb. All right, so we were doing this last time, and I thought this was great last time. I thought it was very helpful for me. This one has baby. It also has sort of like the vibe for me is the heat of the coals that gives the word, and we're just gonna roll with that. That's fine. No. Yeah, we'll use this one. Okay, so that was good last time. This one is, we've got a castle here. We've got, don't let me be put to shame. Yeah, I like that actually. That's pretty good. And then right there at the end, we have baby again. Okay. A reflection. Where were we? Isaiah 58. Shout loudly, don't hold back. Raise your voice like a trumpet. Announce to my people. Right. Sorry. So jumping back. Here we started at 9b. We're going to rewind to the beginning of the chapter, and it's important, and we're going to do it. Shout loudly, don't hold back. Raise your voice like a trumpet. Announce to my people their crime. To the house of Jacob their sins. They seek me day after day, desiring knowledge of my ways, like a nation that acted righteously, that didn't abandon their God. They ask me for righteous judgments, wanting to be close to God. Why do we fast and you don't see? Why afflict ourselves and you don't notice? Yet, on your fast day, you do whatever you want and oppress all your workers. You quarrel and brawl, and then you fast. You hit each other violently with your fists. You shouldn't fast as you are doing today if you want to make your voice heard on high. Is this the kind of fast I choose? A day of self-affliction, of bending one's head like a reed, and of lying down in mourning clothing and ashes? Is this what you call a fast, a day acceptable to the Lord? Isn't this the fast I choose? Releasing wicked restraints, untying the ropes of a yoke, setting free the mistreated, and breaking every yoke? Isn't it sharing your bread with the hungry and bringing the homeless poor into your house, covering the naked when you see them, and not hiding from your own family? Then your light will break out like the dawn, and you will be healed quickly. Your own righteousness will walk before you, and the Lord's glory will be your rear guard. Then you will call, and the Lord will answer. You will cry for help, and God will say, I'm here. If you remove the yoke from among you, the finger pointing, the wicked speech, if you open your heart to the hungry and provide abundantly for those who are afflicted, your light will shine in the darkness, and your gloom will be like the noon. The Lord will guide you continually and provide for you, even in parched places. He will rescue your bones. You will be like a watered garden, like a spring of water that won't run dry. They will rebuild ancient ruins on your account. The foundations of generations past you will restore. You will be called mender of broken walls, restorer of livable streets. If you stop trampling the Sabbath, stop doing whatever you want on my holiday, and consider the Sabbath a delight, sacred to the Lord, honored, and honor it instead of doing things your way, seeking what you want and doing business as usual, then you will take delight in the Lord. I will let you ride on the heights of the earth. I will sustain you with the heritage of your ancestor Jacob. The mouth of the Lord has spoken. Mic drop. All right. So, on this one, we got Angry God. We got fasting. That is a problematically happy face for fasting, but we're all just going to roll with it. We have scales. This is my justice thing. Yeah, we have chains breaking. Did not realize that was a... Again, there's some wild emojis in here when you really start to dig into the set. We have spring, yeah, water. Do we have fountain? Yeah. It'll be like a spring. You will be like a construction worker. You'll be called construction worker. That's the fast that God chooses. And yeah, if I were preaching this, I would probably do as they did and just take that latter part in Isaiah and just talk about the Sabbath, because I think that's, yeah. Oh, that's super important. Gotta talk about the sun and the sun chilling, because that's what the Sabbath should be like. All right. Psalm 103. Let my whole being bless the Lord. Let everything inside me bless his holy name. Let my whole being bless the Lord and never forget all his good deeds. How God forgives all your sins, heals all your sickness, saves your life from the pit, crowns you with faithful love and compassion, and satisfied you with plenty of good things so that your youth is made fresh like an eagle's. Okay, we got to stop for a minute there. Two things. First of all, again, we're onto the disability territory here. So this goes on my... I had a Google Sheet going. And we're going to talk about... This is Psalm 103. And I want 103, 3 and 4. 103, 103, 4. Sickness, healing, sickness, pit. I'm actually just going to say Sheol because that's a little more accurate. And then I actually, since I'm in here and thinking about it, let's talk also about afflicted. Yeah. I have to come back to that. That's Isaiah 53:10, 58:10. And just in that. But I was actually heading for the Jeremiah. Asking for grip. Deliver me. Putting my words in your mouth. So I think 5 and 6 and 7. Well, really 5 through 8. Let's call it. And that's Jeremiah 1. Okay. Wombs. It's one of the key concepts. Speech. Knowledge. All right. And we're absolutely going to have to do that whole Luke passage that we were about to do. Luke 13. I'm just going to tuck it in here right now. Luke 13, 10 to 17. I want to call it like orthopracty. Yeah, it's but it's like back issues. Yeah, we're going to talk about this one in a minute. All right, so that was me taking the notes that I need to take, and I appreciate your patience as I dive into that. But this is the problem. This is a problem. For the psalm. Let my whole being bless the Lord. Yeah. Okay. God heals all our sickness. It's not a bold claim. It's kind of a boring claim, to be honest. It's sort of quotidian. It's like, yeah, no, of course God heals all our sickness. And if you're willing to do the sort of clockmaker God thing of like, your immune system was ordained by God, and therefore in that sort of secondary sense, God heals you from your illnesses as your immune system fights them off. But it falls again into this category. And I've always, since seminary, I've basically taken the attitude that the humans who wrote down the Bible were doing their absolute best to interpret God's word to them through the lens of the society and the time in which they lived. There's kind of no other way to do it, unless you really want to dive hard into liberalism, into literalism, and literalism causes other problems that I find more grievous. The problem with any attitude that says that God heals all sicknesses, if you get sick, it is God who heals you, is that if God doesn't heal you, then it's your fault. And so these passages where, like, you know, if we take seriously that this is just this person's story, for them, God heals all their sicknesses. That's their tale. All right, you can do that. That's a functional way to go. But I'm not happy about it. It's unsatisfying. So I'm just going to tuck that into the pile of, this is a problem that we're going to have to get back to. Saves your life from the pit, crowns you with faithful love, satisfies you with plenty of good things. I love this. I think this is fabulous. My recollection from seminary, this did come up, was that in somewhat the same way that in the medieval period they thought that flies spontaneously generated in rotting meat. They didn't get that maggots were like, or they did get that maggots were connected with flies, but it was even just like maggots show up spontaneously. Like they had a whole system for life generates itself and there's no need to intervene. They just had some, for reasons that make a certain amount of sense, they had some wacky ideas about how biology worked. And one of my favorites is that in Hebrew understanding, eagles were like eternal. Like, let's see if we can find a brief commentary on this. I screwed it up. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is the Reddit. Yeah. Uh-huh. Griffin like, oh, it was actually a griffin vulture. Very majestic bird. Huh. Oh, I gotta zoom in here. Yeah, sorry, this was very good. This idea that eagles renew themselves is it is possible that this is an ancient Near Eastern story. I actually quite appreciate this person who sort of yeah, that's not a useful one. The one that I'm remembering from seminary was something to the effect of, It seems like they just thought that eagles flew away at some point and then came back younger, when in fact it was just a different eagle or something. Uh, but it's a fun little moment. Lord works righteousness, does justice for all who are oppressed. Lord's into justice, guys. Did you know? Fun fact. The Lord is compassionate and merciful, very patient, and full of faithful love. All right. I'm a little worried that this week we're going to be short on videos because there's just not that much. There's not that much fire here. Although, let's see how we do when we get to the Luke passage. Because Jeremiah last week was a... Okay. No. I'm like 4 words in and I'm like, nah. Let's take this Hebrews 12 verses. We're just going to go back to 1. We're going to go all the way down. Scroll all the way down. Okay. Long drink. Every time Paul is obscure in Hebrews, we take a drink. Yeah, we did this one. Great cloud of witnesses. Sit down at the right side of God's throne. So we're skipping a middle passage here. Verse 3 on and on. Think about the one who endured such oppression from sinners that you won't be discouraged and you won't give up. In your struggle against sin, you haven't resisted yet to the point of shedding blood. You've forgotten the encouragement that addresses you as sons and daughters. My child, don't make light of the Lord's discipline or give up when you're corrected by him, because the Lord disciplines whomever he loves, and he punishes every son or daughter whom he accepts. This all from Proverbs. Man, I'm going to have to do a long session on Proverbs, and I'm not necessarily excited about it. Okay, so this is all from Proverbs. You've forgotten the encouragement. In your struggle against sin, you haven't resisted yet to the point of shedding blood. Sounds like you have not yet gone violent in your resistance, and you have forgotten the encouragement. Don't make light of the Lord's discipline or give up when you're corrected by him, because the Lord disciplines whomever he loves, and he punishes every son or daughter whom he accepts. Okay. Bear hardship for the sake of discipline. God is treating you like sons and daughters. What child isn't disciplined by his or her father? But if you don't experience discipline, which happens to all children, then you are illegitimate and not real sons and daughters. Ooh, big mood. What's more, we had human parents who disciplined us and we respected them for it. How much more should we submit to the Father of spirits and live? Our human parents disciplined us for a little while, as it seemed best to them, but God does it for our benefit so that we can share his holiness. This is the kind of passage every once in a while that I encounter that I'm like, sometimes with other Christians, I'm sitting there going, what Bible are you reading? Where are you getting this? Oh, it's right here. I found it. No, discipline is fun while it lasts, but it seems painful at the time. Later, however, it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness for those who have been trained by it. Okay, so carry all that for a moment. We're talking about the subject of the hour, at least in this chapter, is discipline. And I want to see. You have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin. You've forgotten the exhortation. Despise not thou the chastening the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked. And scourgeth every son who he receiveth. Okay. If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? Okay. Oh, man. Befuddled gimmick, da. Where have you been my whole life? The best viewers on streamboo.space.com remove the space. I do. I love that. It just makes me laugh. Okay. I read Foucault's Discipline and Punish in college, possibly in seminary. And there's this whole idea about what does it mean to discipline somebody? Because The literal root word here is to teach. Discipulo means to teach. And I am sympathetic to some of this in terms of I know what it has been in my life to have not been disciplined and to have been disciplined. I know what it means to reach into my soul and find that button that says, no, you must do the thing. Or much more often, I've always had the button for, no, don't do that. That's bad. It has been harder to find the discipline of the button that says, no, I must do this thing. This thing must be done. I will do it now. The internal discipline to exhort yourself, induce yourself to do a thing, or to refrain from doing a thing, and the external discipline that is applied to you, I've never quite been convinced of their connection. And now I'm watching this play out in real time because I have recently acquired a toddler. And this morning when the toddler woke up, the first words out of the mouth were red popsicle. It was clear that the kiddo had been sitting in the crib thinking about how much a red popsicle would just really hit the spot at 8:30 a.m. And it is my job, ultimately, to instill in this child the sensation that, while a red popsicle is nice from time to time, one does not live by red popsicles alone. Discipline. I hope to teach my child discipline. But I am not disciplining my child, certainly in the way that King James seems to mean it. Behold, scourgeth. We're not doing corporal punishment. We don't need to. It is not necessary. From time to time, some restraint is required. And I can see already the seeds of the thing that I have where, when kiddo knows that sin has occurred, there's just an absolute internal crisis. When the toddler is caught in wrongdoing, immediate response is to throw whatever they were doing wrong, which is not helpful. But I get it. So, when I suppose part of this is that God has insights into us and knows what kind of discipline it is that will teach us. I think God figured out with me really early on that the only way for me to figure these things out was to suffer the consequences of having done the wrong thing. And that was highly effective. I remember when I used to play video games 10 hours a day, and I would, after having played video games for 10 hours, I felt terrible. And after the third or fourth time that happened, I was like, oh, maybe I should stop doing that. And that's how God has disciplined me, has been let me do my thing and let me figure out what I did wrong. But be present with me in that. We had human parents who disciplined us and we respected them for it. And this is it. No discipline is fun while it lasts, but it seems painful at the time. I really would like to see what King James is doing there. No, I'm going to have to do that in the Greek. Later, however, it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness for those who have been trained by it. So, strengthen your drooping hands and weak knees. Make straight paths for your feet so that if any part is lame, it will be healed rather than injured more seriously. Interesting. This is Hebrews 12:13. Pursue the goal of peace along with everyone and holiness as well, because no one will see the Lord without it. Make sure that no one misses out on God's grace. Make sure that no root of bitterness grows up that might cause trouble and pollute many people. Make sure that no one becomes sexually immoral or ungodly, like Esau. He sold his inheritance as the oldest son for one meal. You know that afterward, when he wanted to inherit the blessing, he was rejected because he couldn't find a way to change his heart and life though he looked for it with tears. That is, I'm sorry, that's kind of victim blamey. That was not Esau. Esau was a bit of a sucker. Jacob was a jerk. Like, Jacob was, yeah. Okay, so make sure that no one becomes sexually immoral or ungodly like Esau. I like that we're just going to throw these in here like they are absolutely equivalent, and that is not the attitude of most people. You haven't drawn near to something that can be touched. A burning fire, darkness, shadow, a whirlwind, a blast of a trumpet, and a sound of words that made the ones who heard it beg that there wouldn't be one more word. Okay, I'm going to have to do this Hebrews and Greek because none of these things can be touched. You can't touch these things. Some of them can touch you, and it's bad. Sound of words. They couldn't stand the command. Oh. You haven't drawn near to something that can be touched. This is referring to Sinai. They couldn't stand the command, if even a wild animal touches the mountain, it must be stoned. Which is from the Exodus. Yeah. The sight was so frightening that Moses said, I'm terrified and shaking. But you have drawn near. So you haven't drawn near to Sinai, I think is the implication here. But you have drawn near to Zion, city of the living God, heavenly Jerusalem, to countless angels in a festival gathering, to the assembly of God's firstborn children who are registered in heaven, to God, the judge of all, to the spirits of the righteous who have been made perfect, to Jesus, the mediator of the new covenant, and to the sprinkled blood that speaks better than Abel's blood. Okay. Drawn near to Jerusalem, to some angels, to the assembly of God's firstborn children who are registered in heaven, to God, the judge of all. I swear, Hebrews especially, but I think for my own sanity, I might just have to go and do all of Paul as bullet points. Because it just, otherwise, yeah. You've drawn near to Jesus, the mediator of the new covenant, and you've drawn near to the sprinkled blood that speaks better than Abel's blood, presumably Jesus' blood. See to it that you don't resist the one who is speaking. If the people didn't escape when they refused to listen to the one who warned them on earth, see to it that you don't resist the one who is speaking, presumably Jesus. If the people didn't escape when they refused to listen to the one who warned them on earth, presumably Jesus, how will we escape if we reject the one who is warning from heaven? Almost certainly Jesus. His voice shook the earth then, but now he's made a promise still once more. I will shake not only the earth, but heaven also. We're back in Exodus. The word still once more revealed the removal of what is shaken, the things that are a part of this creation, so that what isn't shaken will remain. Therefore, since we are receiving a kingdom that can't be shaken, let's continue to express our gratitude. And I feel like a kingdom that can't be shaken is this. Countless angels in festival gathering, the assembly of God's firstborn, God, spirits of the righteous, Jesus, the mediator, and the blood are unshakable, I think. With this gratitude, let's serve in a way that is pleasing to God with respect and awe, because our God really is a consuming fire out of nowhere. Sure, yes, good. Whoa, God is a consuming fire. Boom. Not expecting that at the end of Hebrews 12. And I'm not even sure that is the end. I feel like Hebrews runs long. No. Therefore, since we are receiving a kingdom that can't be shaken, let's continue to express our gratitude. With this gratitude, let's serve in a way that is pleasing to God with respect and awe, because our God really is a consuming fire. I'm sure that made sense to you, Paul. Okay. Sorry. What happens next? Good old NIV. Translation of my childhood. Keep on loving one another. Okay. Do good stuff, says Paul, after saying our God is a consuming fire. And I think everybody was in agreement. God is a consuming fire. For our God is indeed a consuming fire. Okay. Our God really is a consuming fire. I found the funny. It was right here. Someday I'm going to have commentaries and I'm going to bust them out. But, oh man, but I feel really dumb. There was a whole thing about me trying to figure out the rhyme from the Complete Works of God, abridged by the Reduced Shakespeare Company. It was on the shelf behind me. I just found it today. All right. Luke chapter 13, verses 10 to 17. Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath, like you do. Before I start, let me say, anybody who thinks that preaching isn't work needs to get their head checked. Preaching is a lot of work. Every pastor you know works on the Sabbath. Most of the rabbis too. Probably all the rabbis. That's the Sabbath. We're standing up there talking. It is exhausting. It's work. Everybody be cool. A woman was there who'd been disabled by a spirit for 18 years. She was bent over and couldn't stand up straight. So we aren't trusting the biblical authors, the gospel writers, mostly for medical stuff. Remember, this was, in the period before people realized that blood circulated in the body. It's interesting, I think. I'm betting our translations are going to agree. There was a woman who'd been disabled by a spirit or with a spirit, crippled with a spirit that had crippled her for 18 years. She was bent over and couldn't stand up straight. It would be tidy for me if everywhere that the New Testament says that someone was afflicted with a spirit, we could say this person had a psychological condition that meant that they couldn't stand up straight. Because it makes it a lot easier to swallow Jesus' healing from a sort of mental health perspective. Like, God doesn't have to do anything and we don't have to acknowledge the existence of spirits. I hear myself saying that and I'm like, fight that instinct. Take it as read. Whether or not we would understand the same conditions. People's spirits are real in as much as they have, people have spirit and they can be afflicted by spirits. And that can have physical consequences. She was bent over and she couldn't stand up straight. And when he saw her, Jesus called her to him and said, "Woman, you are set free from your sickness." And he placed his hands on her and she straightened up at once and praised God. Sickness. Ailment. I got to write down all of these words and which ones I got to get a Strong's and sit there with affliction and sickness and ailment and all of these words and just he placed his hands on her and she straightened up at once and praised God. And the synagogue leader, incensed that Jesus had healed on the Sabbath, replied, "There are 6 days during which work is permitted. Come and be healed on those days, not on the Sabbath day." Notice that he's mad at the woman here for making Jesus break Sabbath. It's this is clearly the first sentence could have been for both of them. The second one is clearly for her. Come and be healed on those days, not on the Sabbath day. And the Lord replied, "Hypocrites, don't each of you on the Sabbath untie your ox or donkey from its stall and lead it out to get a drink? Then isn't it necessary that this woman, a daughter of Abraham, bound by Satan for 18 long years, be set free from her bondage on the Sabbath day?" Now I want to be like, do they untie their ox or donkey from its stall and lead it to get a drink? Cool. That's very sweet of them. When he said these things, all his opponents were put to shame, exactly as they asked not to be in the Psalms. But all those in the crowd rejoiced at all the extraordinary things he was doing. That's my big, I'm not sure where I'm going side. So I had this thing for, and we're going to do our cool sun again. Cool sun is now hereby my emoji for the Sabbath. And we're going to do... There we go. And we're going to do... how do we do work? All right. And then Hebrews had a whole... There is a... I don't even know. I'm not even going to try to emoji Hebrews. I'm not even going to try. And Psalm 103... We had a cool eagle. We had God's love. And bless God, God's holy name. Yep, we're doing it. Sneezing face. It's happening. An eagle. We had sickness. We had the pit. I don't even know if they have a pit in here. They have a pita. How about a hole? Yeah, that's a good hole. Oh, and that's the one for Hebrews. Well, that was the earlier part of Hebrews. It's not the one that we were in, because what we have here is... Yeah. Coming to the city of the living God. That's helpful. So it seems pretty obvious. I thought this was interesting. These two had a whole thing about God's knowledge of us. And it's interesting in the Luke passage, it's the sort of thing that they usually call out, that there's this woman who's been suffering for 18 years. She was bent over. She couldn't stand up. When Jesus saw her, he said, "Woman, you're set free from your sickness." He placed his hands on her and she straightened up. And then when Jesus calls out this woman, a daughter of Abraham, bound by Satan for 18 years, be freed from her bondage. How did he know that? How did the narrator know that? Did Jesus ask? Like, what's the relationship here? So there is a sermon in here about the ways in which God knows us. And I think that is one of the ways to do this is to talk about God's intimate familiarity with us, and to let the Hebrews passage go rot. Leave Psalm 103 out. Leave Isaiah 58 out. Just do the Jeremiah and the Psalm 71. From my birth I've leaned upon you. Like, talk about God's intimate knowledge of us and what that means. And actually, I could bust out the other part of the Hebrews, but not this bit. The other one is about the Sabbath, and that's just sort of obvious. Jesus heals on the Sabbath. You can do something with Psalm 108 and like the ways that Moses taught, and you can do the Isaiah, the refrain from trampling the Sabbath. What does the Sabbath mean? And this is a constant tension in the Bible and in Judaism and in Christianity, is the push and pull between, is the Sabbath made for man or man for the Sabbath? And at the same time that you can be like, do whatever you're gonna do, have like, it's the Sabbath, like, bless, like, remember God, but do whatever. And yet there is in fact something very powerful about the discipline of choosing your activities carefully on a Sabbath day. So what do you do? Like, how do you go back and forth on that? And I'm not sure. I think I would be more likely. I think there are different sermons for different occasions. I'm not sure which one I would do this coming Sunday, because I'm not actually preaching. And if I do an ADHD sermon, you probably just heard it. Yeah. All right. I don't think I actually have anybody in chat who can. I mean, there is one person in chat, and I will go ahead and ask Psychotic Rat if you would prefer to hear the Greek of Hebrews or the Greek of Luke. And other than that, I'm actually just going to roll the dice. All right. Okay. Odds, it's Hebrews. Evens, it's Luke. Even. It is Luke. Also, hi, Psychotic Rat. Thanks for joining us. All right. Luke chapter 13, verses 10 to 17. All right. And he was didaskon. He was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath day, on Sabbasin. Or rather, on the Sabbaths. Interesting. Okay. Just going to roll with that. And lo. And check it out. Kaidu. And see? A woman was there with a... let's see here. A woman was there. She had a spirit of infirmity. Asthenias. I feel like that's stheno... from us week, yeah. So, but it's astheno, right? It's from G772, which is almost certainly asthenes, right? From alpha is a negative particle in the base sthenoo. From stenos, bodily vigor, probably akin to the base of histemi, to stand up. And I'm not gonna bother checking that, but that sounds right to me. So she has a spirit of weakness is not bad. Infirmity is okay. Let me pull up for a moment and say, however, if this woman for 18 years has been bent over forwards, there is a certain amount of strength in that. Your muscles might not be working correctly, but boy, some of them are working real hard. I'm reminded of Bender breaks the professor. There's an image in future. Yeah. There's a moment in Futurama where Bender has been bending in his sleep, and he bends the professor forward, and the professor's totally like depressed and miserable, and then he bends the professor backwards, and the professor's like overjoyed and happy and like enjoying life. The weirdest things stick with you. Check it out. There was a woman. She had pneuma asthenias, a spirit of infirmity, which for 10 and 8 years, for 18 years, yeah, etedeca kai octo. She had, yeah, a woman there was, which had it had a pneuma, a spirit of infirmity, 18 years. Like, there's no real for here. It's just, she had a spirit of infirmity, 18 years. Almost parenthetically. And she was bowed together, sum cuptusa. Yeah. Cupto. Gotta crack that one open. That one's Sunkuptusa. Uh-huh. Yeah. Kupto 2955. From the base of Kuma, probably from the base of Kuma to bend forward to stoop down. Probably from the base of Kuma. I don't trust you, Strongs. You've led me astray too many times. From Kuo, Kaio to swell, to bend, to curve. A billow is a bursting. Okay, the top lane will wave. Okay. I don't... That's not how linguistics works. Kupto. Oh, no. Oh, too Greek. Yeah. Lectionary. Here we go. From Kufos, that makes more sense. Yeah. Which Beaks suspect is a pre-Greek origin, more there. Clearly related to Kupto. Kup points to a pre-Greek origin. Phonetic and semantic similarities with others across Indo-European, such as Sanskrit kuvra, humpback, crooked, though the Sanskrit terms have been derived from munda, precluding connection with the Greek, and pie, pot, as well as show root final P, making a relation more difficult. Yeah, okay. And it has this curved thing. Okay. I'm just going to roll with that. Subgupto. So she's, and it is, bowed together is actually a great translation on this. It is bent with. And she did not have the power to lift up, and it's same root here, into the Pantelis. Whoa. And me dunamene, she could not lift up in wise. How's the 18 years. And was bowed together and could not at all able in no wise. And word order here, the Greek. No. Is that what everybody else is doing? Because that doesn't make any sense. Bent over and couldn't stand up straight. And our NRSV has quite unable. Like, that gives you that in no wise to stand up straight. And you can just do stand up straight with the Anakupsai to like lift up. She's not able to lift up. All right. Sure. Bowed together. Couldn't no wise lift up. All right. And when Jesus saw her, he called her to him. Right. When Jesus saw Jesus seeing her, he prosephonon. Yeah, he called out and said to her, "Woman, apolelusai, you are loosed." Luo. This is the root word of analysis. This lelusai. To analyze something is literally to untie it. You are loosed of the astheneas, of your infirmity, of your weakness. Not bad. Strong start. And he laid on, and he laid on onto her his hands presumably, and pachrema, and immediately anorthothe, she was made straight, and she gave glory to God. She glorified God. Yeah, this is orthothe is the root of orthodox, and also orthopedics. She was straightened. God straightened her out. I have way too much fun with the Greek. And apokrythes. No, did I miss one? Yeah, I think I popped one. No. Yeah, immediately she was, and she glorified God. And the ruler of the synagogue, right? 13:14. Yep. Answered the archisynagogos. Yeah. Okay, so this is archisynagogos, which is a lot. It's a mouthful. But my favorite part of it is synagogue in Greek means the place where we are led together. And that has both the implied of we have been led together by God and also we are led together. So this gogos is a leader. You have strategos, who's a leader of soldiers, and a choragos, who's a leader of dancers. And so you have a synagogue, like a synagogue is a place where we are led together. But you have an archi-synagogos. So this is the leader of the led together. I don't know why I think that's as funny as I do, but I really do. Aganakton, with indignation. Aganakton. Yeah. Boy, this is a apokrythes de archisynagogos aganakton. There's a little fun assonance for you there. Because it was the Sabbath, and because Jesus had healed on the Sabbath. So the synagogue leader answered with indignation because Jesus had healed on the Sabbath, and he said to the ochlos, to the crowd, and incensed that Jesus healed on the Sabbath, responded, but where's the ochlos in there? And do I have the ochlos? Do I have the crowd in here? Kept saying to the crowd. So I don't know why the Common English is skipping on the ochlos here. We need that ochlos. It's very important. If everyone remembers, the ochlos is the crowd, and it's a key feature of Luke's gospel is that there's an ochlos that follows around. So, the synagogue leader answered indignantly because Jesus had healed on the Sabbath. And he said to the crowd, 6 days there are in which men ought, present, impersonal, active, indicative, third person singular. Okay. Ought to do work. Yeah. 6 days there are in which men ought to do work. In them, therefore, erchomenai, come. In those days, therefore, come and receive therapy, and do not come on the Sabbath day. And this is a. I do. It's funny that the synagogue leader, mad because Jesus had healed on the Sabbath, is yelling at the crowd, "Don't come here on the Sabbath day to be healed." As if he knows that he can't control Jesus. All right. And the Lord then answered him, and he answered, but then unsure. The Lord then answered him and said, "You hypocrite, Ekastos, each one of you on the Sabbath." Right? Ekastos? Yeah. Each of you on the Sabbath doesn't loose the boon. This is the ox, sure. Your ox or your ass from the fatnes from the stall and lead it potitze to drink. To watering, but really it's just to drinking. Potize, as in potables. And ought not this daughter of Abraham, whom Satan has bound, lo, 18 years, ought not to be led, or to be loosed from the desmu, from her bond on the Sabbath day. So the fundamental here, and I think this is where because this is the same thought in the Jeremiah, and I think it's a consistent thought. When we talk about, is the Sabbath made for man or man for the Sabbath, the purpose of the Sabbath is freedom. The purpose of the Sabbath is freedom from work and freedom from those things that tie us down, particularly those things that tie us down away from God. And so this call from God is to loose oppression and to loose those bonds which hold us back, which is why it is permissible for Christ to heal a woman bound on the Sabbath. And Isaiah affirms that same thought. And I think that's what I would want to talk about is, on Sundays, it's all very well and good for us to go to worship. What chains do we break? What freedoms do we open up for people on our Sabbaths? Because that's God's call to us, to break the yoke and to free the prisoner, especially the unjust prisoner. I promised a friend that I wasn't going to go too political today, but that's your ADHD sermon for August 24th. And that's it from me. I've done some Greek. We're about at time. I'll be interested to see. Somebody told me that Twitch likes it when you set a schedule and then meet it, and I just did that for the first time in months. And not that many people came to the chat, which is fine. I do appreciate. Thank you, Psychotic Rat. I appreciate you dropping by. Blessings to all of you. Next Monday, we'll be doing this again, as we do it every week. But next Monday, significantly, I will actually be preaching a sermon the following Sunday. So I will drop those links all over the place. They'll be in Blue Sky. I will attempt to remember to drop them in the chat next week. It's always fun to preach in Meat Space. Find me on Blue Sky. Find me on Ko-fi. Find me on YouTube, where most of this is going to get turned into, I don't know, some number of shorts. There should be some shorts from today, I hope. This is the thing. And stay tuned. I'm thinking big things about God's call for this ministry in the near future. We'll see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't think so. Good vibes. God bless. See you next time.